Let's speak with Charlie Rowley, former special advisor to the last government. Are you a cat owner, Charlie? I'm bound to ask.
Even if you didn't ask, Ian, I was going to tell you. But I'm not a cat owner here in London. Our family, we do have 2 cats, but I do think that you are. I might be causing an absolute gender war debate this morning, but I think if you are a single man, you're more likely to own a dog.
Correct. Men like dogs, girls like cats. It's as simple as that, right?
I think so, although I have to say, cats are easier to obviously maintain. They look after themselves.
Cats are ridiculous, Charlie. Come on, they are ridiculous bits of kit. They do nothing. The cat is a futile beast. It has multiple... we once took in a stray cat because we thought, me and a mate, we owned, we owned, I wish we did, we were about 20 at the time. We rented a place. We thought, it was our castle. We thought it was fantastic. And we somehow adopted this cat. And we called the cat Charlie, and we loved the cat, and we thought it was amazing. It was only about 2 months down the line we discovered that 32 other people also owned this cat, because cats aren't stupid. They just mooch around, don't they, to other houses and get fed all over the place and go wherever they feel. So it's not a loyal beast, your cat. I mean, it's surplus to requirements, frankly.
Well, that cat had a great name, that's all I can say.
Indeed, yes. Charlie Cat was a hero of the day. Let's look at some real crucial stories here. You could have written this one, Charlie, before we saw the headline that Rachel Reeves is saying there's a big £20 billion black hole and it's all the fault of the last government. That great line, we knew it was bad, we didn't think it was going to be this bad until we looked at the books.
Yeah, I think the public will see right through it from the off because, the economy hasn't been left in a way in which, the Tories or the coalition government took over in 2010. This is clearly something that the Labour Party would have known about, or if there really was a fundamental black hole in the public's finances. But it is, as everybody suspected, I think, just a way in which she will allow the Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, be able to go to the country and say, well, we need to raise taxes. She will obviously want to paint the picture, the economic picture, as bleakly as possible. Even when inflation has come down, the economy has just started to grow, wages are up. Yes, there are still debts to be paid because of COVID and the borrowing, but everybody understands that. But the idea that all of a sudden there's this £20 billion deficit somewhere that needs to be paid. Oh, with the terrible Tories, I'm so sorry, great British public, I'm going to now have to put up your taxes, but don't blame me. Well, that is not going to wash because the Labour government already have announced huge infrastructure projects, not just GB Energy, but nationalising the railways, nationalising the water companies. That is all going to cost money that clearly wasn't costed in their manifesto. So to put the blame on the Tories, I think, as I say, the public will see through it right from the off.
I would have thought so. Now, we know it's going to be tricky, and of course, the key for this new government, Charlie, will not be the raising of income tax. They said they won't do that. They obviously can't. It's manifesto promising. And no VAT rise either. And I think national insurance is in there too. But as we keep saying, they're the 3 headline taxes. There's 1,000 other taxes you can have a look at.
There are, and there's some suggestion that there'll be capital gains tax increases, that there'll be maybe some raid on the pensions, which will, I think, alarm a lot of people right across the country. And there will be others, perhaps increase in those who are self-employed or corporation tax. You never know. So we'll have to wait and see the detail. But it is frankly alarming that a manifesto commitment that all political parties seem to make, which was not to increase taxes. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the party should have been the government. Labour Party at the time should have been open and honest about what it is that they were trying to achieve, how they're going to do it, and that should have levelled with the public to say, look, there are still debts to be paid because of COVID. We want to achieve X, Y, Z. In order to do that, yes, it does mean now maybe the taxes are going to have to increase. The fact that they didn't do that, and it's now going to be a sort of, oh, well, we've been able to now inspect the books, and by the way, we said we wouldn't increase, as you rightly said, national insurance, income tax or VAT, but you should have read the small print, public, before you voted. We could have, that was a sign that we're going to increase all the others for our projects, our vanity projects or whatever, more for you, public. No, they should have been straight about it with the public, told us what they were planning on doing, and see if they got elected on that basis.
I sense as well, Charlie, that the absolute fascination they have with, whether somebody wants to call it net zero, whether they want to call it, new ways of exploring energy, etc., but the almost near hysteria around sticking up a flipping windmill wherever there is a space, I think, is something they are so attached to. Keir Starmer, I think, will die on this particular hill. The Great British Energy Company, you won't be able to see the sea for windmills at some point. There's going to be so many of these things. I don't know how much it's going to cost. The idea that it's not going to use public money, well, it will a bit. The idea that it's going to drop your energy bills, that's not true. We established that yesterday. We'll come to Keir Starmer's point on that in just a moment. But these are not like little tiny vanity projects where we're going to, give kids an extra portion of chips at school on a weekly basis. These are multi-billion pound projects that will cost an awful lot of money, and that money's got to come from somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, look, the GB Energy stuff, I mean, it starts off about £8 billion. And by the way, it's not going to, and that's just a start. And that's not, it's a company that isn't even going to supply us energy. I think that 8 billion is about bringing together a cohort of people, and the Crown Estate to, as you exactly say, build more wind farms, which only supplies, I think, about 13% of our energy anyway. So, it's not actually going to, double that. Okay, that's, less, just over a quarter. So it's not exactly going to be something that the whole country can thrive and survive on. But who, it is effectively a new Quango, bringing people together under one roof at the cost of £8 billion when it isn't even going to supply energy. It's going to get other people to supply it. So Keir Starmer should have been more open and honest, I think, about the situation in Scotland. So cancelling, oil and gas licences up there. That's something we can thrive on. But as I say, the government's made those choices, and we'll just have to see how that plays out.
And of course, Keir Starmer did talk about slashing 300 quid off energy bills in his drive for more offshore wind. It wasn't in the manifesto, but it was something he said, that we will be able to do this. That ain't going to happen, Charlie.
No, I don't think it will. You've got to have a sustainable energy supply. That's including nuclear, which I think the government cancelled already when they came into office on their first week. It is about wind farms. It is about a renewable resource, but we are still going to have to get our energy from a number of places. But in order to cut bills, a lot of that focuses on, by the way, the war in Ukraine. And the only way you actually have a swift outcome to that is if you continue to support Ukraine, but if you continue to fund your defences as well. The Tories committed to 2.5% of GDP. The Labour government is still flailing around saying, well, yes, we're committed to it, but only when economic conditions allow. Well, conditions will never be right, in the eyes of Putin.
Yeah.
So, lots of factors there as to how we get an eligible, sustainable energy supply.
Quick word, Charlie. Former Work and Pension Secretary Mel Stride, not a big household name in political among the public, I would suggest. However, former Cabinet Minister says he's going to stand for Tory leadership. Why do some people who clearly haven't got a hope in hell put their name into the ring?
Well, he will say...
He might be a mate of yours, Charlie. I don't know. You might say Mel's the top chap. I'm sure he is. But really? Tory leader?
Well, I think he hasn't been a name that has been in the press or that people are or have been talking about previously. So it is a...
He's not going to be in Madame Tussauds, is he, anytime soon? Let's put it that way.
It's a surprise nomination, but... one that may not take off unless he has a very, very good campaign to persuade colleagues that, look, actually, out of all of the people that are being talked about, Mel, I think, is probably, I hope he doesn't mind me saying, and I hope I'm correct in saying that he is slightly older, or appears slightly older, and he might have had more
he just
experience.
Looks very old, yes. Is that what you're saying?
He may be able to convince party colleagues if you're torn between two or three candidates. If you are thinking about voting for Tom Tugendhat or James Cleverly or Robert Jenrick, or anyone else. It may be that Mel says, well, look, if you can't choose between those three, pick someone that actually can, have the authority of bringing colleagues together, bringing this party together, someone that is a bit of an unknown, but has the business experience. I think he has got a bit of a background in business. He can run the ship accordingly.
And just a very final point, Charlie, because I'm going to go to a call in a second, but we started this off by the curious discussion, global debate about men owning dogs and women owning cats. And many people have got in touch, Amanda and others, to point out that Talk's own Peter Cardwell owns a cat. So, although, he's known as Peter Cardwell to the public, to those who know him, Petra Cardwell. So, there's the maybe the clue in that. Charlie, thank you very much indeed. Former government advisor Charlie Rowley with us here on Talk.